address the client's concerns on what it would take for the client to feel that you're competent. B, you feel frustrated and agree to transfer the client to somebody who is GLBT identified, if you know counsel. And C, you assure the client that you are competent. So A, you address the client's concern and act on how they're going to feel comfortable. B, you transfer them. Or C, you assure them that you are. I got some more mixed ones on this one. All right. Okay, so somebody who's got an A in their hand, somebody tell me why you would address the client's concerns and have a conversation with them about it. Anybody who chose A that hasn't already talked?
I would address it because I want to know why he or she feels that I couldn't understand, and they're kind of already judging me like they think I'm judging them, and they feel like I can't understand them because I may or may not identify with them. And then C was what was C again? I don't remember why I chose it.
Assure the client that you are competent.
And then I guess self-disclose if we were at that point where I feel like I could, or we were on that level.
Okay. I saw some B's. Who had a B in this moment talk? Man, see, in the beginning, I just thought I was going to get all these people that were raising their hand back to me. I'm not moving on.
Lindy is comfortable with silence, so.
I was just going to talk about why I didn't choose B.
Okay.
I was thinking about transference. So if you were to recommend them to somebody that was LGBT, they could possibly, you could be putting them in a situation where that person is putting themselves in that client's shoes and recommending things that they would have done in their situation as opposed to what's more appropriate for that client.
It's a possibility. Yeah. That's what counselors make mistakes sometimes too. Transference and counter-transference is a real thing. It happens. That's a possibility, absolutely. Anybody else have any thoughts about that one? I think the biggest thing that I will say about this one is it really is important to address the client's concerns. Because the reason that they're bringing it up, there's a different reason why they're questioning your competence. Again, I think it's that question of, am I truly going to be accepted? Are you willing, no matter who you identify with, are you willing to try to understand me where I'm coming from? And are you going to give me the best service that you can? And I think if you can assure them that, even if you don't go as far as say, of course I'm confident to deal with you. I don't think we should ever go into it that way or take offense to someone questioning that. But I think that having that conversation and making sure they feel comfortable is always a good place to go. Yeah.
I think you may be confident to do it, but if you have a bias towards it or whatever, that and you know that deep in your heart that you should transfer it to someone else.
And that is somebody else could probably speak to that too, but that is actually, I do think you have to be self-aware, but I will also tell you that there have been some court cases where people have tried to transfer because of bias and in that specific area, and they haven't won. I'll put it, Lizzie, do you want to speak to that at all, or do you know any of the?
Yeah, I'm aware of the court cases, and I think that we have to be really careful about our own belief systems and attitudes and values and all the things. We talk about that in all of our classes in the program, and you have to examine those. I think it's probably the first place to start is through supervision and talking about the feelings that you have there, working with a client that has any particular issue that is starting to push back on your own values. You need to work through that in supervision. If you're ultimately going to be ineffective with the client, it might be possible to do a transfer, but you got to be very careful about abandonment of your client as well. So.
Yeah, so I mean, there are situations where transferring you may need to. I would just encourage anybody, like he said, to try to work through that as much as you can in supervision and doing your own personal work as a therapist before you decided to make that. I would always use that as a last resort in anybody that I'm counseling with, honestly. So, because if I'm not confident, then I can get there. So why not take that as a challenge for me to grow? That's where I'm at personally. That's how I go for it. So, okay, number 4. The client comes in and asks you to assist them in transitioning from one sex to another. A, you assist them in the transition. B, you discuss what your role is as a therapist and how you can help. And C, you put off the inquiry and try to focus on other issues. A, assist the client, B, discuss your role as a therapist, C, put it off. So most people, most everybody at least have B. So somebody tell me why you chose B.
Yeah, I'm gonna say just not A because I'm assuming, I don't know how far they want me to help. What are we watching? How in-depth helping are we doing? So I think that's why I would have to clarify why I'm there.
Absolutely. And I think that would be some education on your part to the client. Because there, as a therapist, you can play a supportive role in someone doing that and working through their feelings with it or things like that. But in a lot of, I mean, you can't, there are certain competencies that you would need, and medical doctors and all this other kind of stuff that really is out of what a therapeutic scope would be. Outside of providing that support and giving them an open space to talk about that transition and what they're experiencing, there's other things that you can't do. This example came from, this wasn't mine, but it was another person that I know. It was a client of theirs. And they came in and really wanted the therapist to do all the work. Like, research this for me, figure out how I can do this, all of those things. So they were saying that they wanted it, but they weren't ready to put that time in themselves. So the thing they really went back and focused on in therapy was, hey, these are the places as a therapist I can help. These are the places, if this is a decision that you're making in your life, that you've really got to make those steps. Nobody else can really make those, and these are the people that are probably going to need to be at the table. And so it was really more of a psychoeducation, education type place to show where you could help and where you couldn't. So yeah, that's absolutely the reason. Okay, number 5. Client states that she is gay but doesn't want to be. So, A, encourage the client to embrace homosexuality. B, encourage the client not to embrace homosexuality. Or C, have a dialogue about why the person feels that way. All right, my good counselors.
That's easy money.
Okay, so yeah, and then we don't have to talk about this one. I think everybody was pretty across the board that one. But again, in the end, it's not your job to discourage or discourage. It's your job to make sure that the client is making that informed decision. Yeah.
I have a question. What if the client was underage? I know you said like 15, but what if it was somebody 12 or 11, that kind of thing? They came in and they said that to you. I feel this way, but I don't want to feel this way. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So I've had that before. I'm sorry to say, I tried to help her not embrace it. I probably shouldn't have done that, but that was before I took all the classes. But anyway, so I'm just saying, I did have her talk with her parents and all that. But, from a therapeutic aspect, 11, 12, they're still in that developmental time. As a therapist, what would you do in that case?
Well, I think a lot of times when we have someone that comes to us with a problem, no matter what age they are, we automatically feel like, oh my gosh, we need to do something with this. And I think that's that space where, you made a great point. This is a developmental stage. This is something that somebody's feeling and aren't sure about. I think just providing that space for them a safe space for them to actually say out loud where they're at. And again, especially at that young of an age, encourage parents to be in that process. If they're that young, most of the time, I would never tell clinicians to do just therapy with the child. It should be a parent involvement thing as well. So hopefully the parents are engaged in therapy where you can facilitate that discussion and be supportive. But yeah, that's definitely one where you're going to want to bring more people to the table and still allow that space. You don't have to answer that question or fix that problem. For that, we can't fix any of our clients' problems. I just want, in case y'all thought that, sorry. We can facilitate change, but they've got to do that for themselves. So no matter what whether that was distressing to them, I think you acknowledge that. I think you ask why that's distressing and bring whoever to the table that you need to. Anybody else have that? Any other questions? No? Okay. So that was it for those. So let's go through the last couple of slides. I think I'm good on time. All right, we're going to get done. I'm good. Okay. So what about us as counselors? First and foremost, we kind of talked about this already. Be mindful of the prejudice that you have. Be mindful of where you're at and the values that you hold and how that might impact the client, no matter who it is standing across from you or sitting across from you. Understand in this area that if you are in the heterosexual population, understand the privileges that you do have. I think we take a lot of those for granted, but we talked about a few of those already. But really understand how that can come across. I was reading an article, which again I suggested to you all in here in the Counseling State Journal, but it was talking about how, and I have this. I have a picture of, I have a wedding picture of me and my husband in my office, and I'm not saying you should take that down. I'm not taking my picture down. But again, when someone walks in my office, you need to know the signals that you are giving off. So I'm aware that I have a picture of me and my husband, a marriage picture on my bookshelf. But I also have a safe zone sticker on my door. So I'm not saying you need to balance it out, but I am saying that be aware of the environment and how you may be coming across in areas that you might not have even thought of before. And even if the client never states their preference and you never know anything, that never even comes up, you never talk about sexual orientation, because a lot of times you're not really going to know that, and that's not even going to be something you're going to be talking about in counseling. You can still, even with your language, end up discriminating against that person and not really knowing it. For example, if I had a girl sitting across from me and I asked her if she had a boyfriend, automatically there I'm saying I'm not open, I'm assuming, whatever those things are. If I say, do you have a significant other? Do you have a partner? That type of language really helps somebody, again, not be put on the defense or think, man, already this person isn't going to understand who I am. So you want to strive to understand the effects of stigma, and that's the reason I played that video for you all. I think that was a really good way to understand what some of that stigma may be and what some of our clients may experience and what people in that community experience every day. You need to show a great deal of sensitivity and unconditional positive regard. That's what the UPR stands for. Because, going back to possible histories, you may be having somebody sitting across from you that has been through some type of trauma, some type of abuse, something there. So you really want to make sure that that environment is as safe and accepting as possible, just to really be sensitive to that. We need to pursue competence, and on the next slide, I put a few websites with the APA and then the, I get it wrong every single time, but it's the one with the ALGBTC, whatever that one is, under the American Counseling Association. I think I put in parentheses what it meant so I wouldn't forget. But they have competencies that are actually on their websites that you can go through. And APA has 21 competencies, which show you this is what you need to aim for as a competent counselor for this community. So understanding the effects of stigma, making sure that you go to trainings and understand what issues are specific to that community, those types of things. So you want to do that through, we mentioned supervision earlier, training, continuing education hours, and consultation, so with other peers. It doesn't have to be necessarily supervision. And you also, I said this already, but you never want to assume that the presenting problem has anything to do with sexual orientation, because most of the time it doesn't. I have worked with the GLBTQ community now for a while, and I can tell you that there have been a few that definitely want to talk about sexual orientation, or they're questioning, or that's something that we really deal with in that process. But for most people, that's just a small part of who they are. They're dealing with depression or anxiety or social anxiety or some other thing, and that's all they want to work on. They don't really want to talk about that other stuff because that's a really small part of who they are. So a lot of times it's not even in the specific things that you work on, that's not even going to be something that's in the room. So never assume that's a presenting problem. And you need to be aware of resources in your area, specifically if you're a rural area like this. For example, we had a client that really wanted to be involved in a religious community, but they were not sure where they would be accepted and not accepted. So it's really important for us as the CAPS office to know churches in the area that would be open to having somebody in that community come and be part of their church. So that may be not something that you would think about. Doctors are the same way. We mentioned that earlier. If they are they going to be stigmatized if they walk into a medical office, or are they going to be accepted? So just resources like that in your community are really important to know, so that people in this population feel safe. Here's some, the Association for Lesbian, Gay, Bisexual, Transgender Issues in Counseling. That one, great website for competencies again and other resources, other reading materials. You've got the APA, American Psychological Association, and they've got another list of competencies on there that you can read to know kind of where you measure up as a counselor in your openness and where you should be with that community. There's GLSEN, which I talked about before. They're the ones who do the National School Climate Survey. PFLAG is parents, families, and friends of lesbians and gays. They're a really good website. And then the HRC is the Human Rights Campaign. So all of those have great information. As a counselor, I'm specifically increasing your knowledge. Halfofus.com that's actually a really great website in general for you as a counselor, and that's the reason I put it on there, especially if you end up working with teenagers, college students, teenagers. It has depression, anxiety, suicide, cutting, GLBT issues, anything that you can think of is on there. There are videos of people with students with their stories. There are PSAs on there about what's a healthy relationship and what's not a healthy relationship, and they do really good to include every type of relationship. There's a lot of diversity and a lot of inclusion on that website. I was going to show you a clip, but I don't have time. And you can go look at it yourself, but they've even got a whole thing about coming out on that website. And then goodtherapy.org is just another good website for you guys to know as a clinician. The recommending reading, I really would recommend you to go read this article. It probably does better than any information that I've given you today. Come and be who you are, and you can find that at, again, that's on your PowerPoint slides that I gave you, so you'll have that. And then I pass around that book out and about campus. So if you are going to be working with the college population and just hearing those stories, they're actually a really good book. So any questions, comments, thoughts, anything else? Thank you guys so much. I appreciate it. Really quick, if you didn't do a survey and you're interested in doing that, they're up here. And that's for grant research that CAPS is doing around sexual assault. So thank you guys so much.
All right, hold on before you take off. I just want to remind you to fill out a survey, an evaluation on the workshop tonight. You should have been handed one of those when you signed in. And while you're doing that, I want to just mention that we want you to stay connected to the counseling center, whether you're a student with us now, or if you're here as an alumni, or if you're here as a professional from outside. We want you to stay connected to our programs because we certainly have a lot of different ways that you can do that. Of course, you should be on the counseling programs listserv where you get the emails, but also we have a blog that is very active. You'll see the photos from tonight, some video from tonight will be back on the blog. You may see your own face on the blog by logging onto that. You can go to uncpcounselingprograms.wordpress.com. So it's a WordPress blog. So I think if you go to wordpress.com and type in UNCP Counseling Programs, it'll take you to it. We have a Facebook page, UNCP Counselor Ed. Go to that, like the page, you'll get all the things on there. Twitter, UNCP Counselor Ed, and send us a hashtag or whatever they do on Twitter. Do the hashtag, Katie, is that what you do?
Don't ask, it's Shauna. Shauna's got that one.
The hashtag, we'll get the hashtag, they can hashtag or whatever that means. I just saw that one time. And we have a Pinterest page, so you can pin something on our page, and that is UNCP Counseling. So if you go on Pinterest and type in UNCP Counseling, you can do all of those things, stay connected with your fellow students, and also that's also a place that outside professionals can go into, and you might be able to match up and be friends with people and tweet or whatever you guys do with each other and get jobs that way. That's how jobs are gotten these days through social media. So make sure to fill out the evaluation. Thank you, Lindy, for coming, and be on the lookout for the next PDA in November. Thanks a lot.